Northeast region here afternoon session. In the next session, we're going to have a presentation by Josephine Melissa, who is the regional coordinator for Africa for Connecting the Unconnected project. This is a project led by Association for Progressive Communications, and as partners, as stakeholders, the project is beginning. It's imperative that we try to integrate our knowledge, our understanding, our precision of it into all that we are doing. So I'm going to ask that it's going to be remote. That means we're going online again over Skype. And that means that no movements will be condoned, because it will affect our attention to listen to online Skype call. Hello, Josephine.
Hello?
Good.
Hello?
Yes, we can get you loud and clear.
Oh.
Josephine, I've already introduced you and introduced your presentation on connecting the unconnected. And of course, a project led by Association for Progressive Communication. And your audience is ready to listen to you. You can kindly go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I hope you can see my screen. I'm sharing my screen on the presentation that
Yes, please.
I'll be sharing today. Okay, great. So I'll start. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of the event. Greetings from Nairobi. It's a almost rainy afternoon. My name is Josephine, and I am the Africa Regional Coordinator for the APC LockNet project, or Local Access Network project, which I'll be sharing a bit on in the next few minutes. And the presentation basically is just to highlight the work that APC is doing in Africa in building the community networks movement, and also to share more about the amazing projects that we have in community networks, and hoping that from this discussion, beyond this, we'll be able to get, apart from the APC, I am also the project lead for Sinopananex Community Network, which is a community network that is located in Kibera, Nairobi, an urban slum, if I may say, or an informal settlement in Nairobi. I joined APC this year in terms of supporting the amazing work that Bosco is doing. My colleague Solomon and Immaculate are there, and I'm very happy, and congratulations on planning the event and making it a success. So building on to the conversation that we have had this morning, around, for me, sharing this presentation will be more towards my lens, looking at how I see community networks transforming Africa, and also transforming our own individual countries. So how community networks are transforming Kenya, for example, or how they're transforming Uganda. So Africans, in general, we are very community, and that means that our being, or everything that we do is focused on the community. So it's very rare to find that in Africa, communities living in isolation. So we usually have communities. Sometimes we are organized on basis of tribes, sometimes on basis around church or other ways. So there are the social ways that we organize ourselves as community. So communities are really great because they give us a sense of ownership. In Kenya, we are just barely 2 weeks from celebrating the win by Eliud Kipchoge on the marathon. And on that day, we saw Kenyans really coming together and united. And one of the memes on Twitter was that we have never seen Kenyans being so positive. But apart from that, it was just around supporting Eliud, not as a Kenyan, but as an African. So we come together as communities to solve challenges. We come together to support one another, get solutions. As people at the grassroots level, coming together to solve the challenges that we have with regards to connectivity. So living in a rural area, one of the challenges that we have is around access to infrastructure. And it's not just access to like the telecoms infrastructure, but also access to things like power, which are sort of like the analog supportive structures of telecommunications. And because of how our rural areas are in terms of affordability or in terms of the economy, you find that it is very rare for traditional telcos to deploy infrastructure in rural areas. And it's not for any reason but for the fact that most of this area are not able to enable, they will not be able to, the telcos or the ISPs, for example, will not be able to recover their investment because it's not just the deployment of infrastructure that is expensive, but there's also the other aspects around the operational costs of maintaining this infrastructure that is very, very, very expensive. So when, for example, a telecom company or an ISP is deploying infrastructure in a rural area, they have to factor in things like electricity. If the roads are not so good, then they have to think how would our engineers travel or to reach that particular area. So all these costs become very expensive for them. And most of the time, rural areas or underserved areas and do not generate enough revenue for them to be able to recover the investment that they are putting in. So what does this mean for us? And in the few African spirit means that if we are not being connected by telcos or ISPs, then it means that as a community we need to come together and see how we are going to connect ourselves. And the importance of connectivity right now, I think the UN, they said like internet connectivity is a basic human right. And it is because access to information is very difficult, and sometimes it's the difference between life and death. So in us remaining offline, it's not just about internet as a luxury, but it's really around that we are missing out on opportunities that are online to generate revenue. We are missing out on opportunities to grow ourselves socially as well. So community network is really around communities coming together to form networks as a collective. And so their designs participation, which means everyone is welcome and everyone's input is valued. And the content and services that are offered by the community network are really, really community-centric. So it means that it's not just about, for example, access to Facebook, but it's really about how is Facebook relevant to the community. It's not just about access to like the international sort of platforms, but really looking at how are these relevantly building our own communities as well. So we are building networks that will ensure that the community also benefits, that the revenue generated from the network is reinvested back into the community. Started in that not mean that community community network started, of course, started way before that. We have a network around 10 years ago. We have the length of Plenary that's around 6 years. So community networks have been in existence for quite a number of years. Some because of funding challenges and other challenges, one sustainable and sort of died off. But the movement started in 2016 as a result of research that was done by Carlos Moreno, colleagues from ACC, and Michael Graff, who did the first mapping of community networks in Africa. And they were able to identify that there were around 37 initiatives, but only 12, sorry, the number is 12, only 12 are being considered active, and that was in 2016. Then from that report, sharing with Internet Society, who have been a very great supporter of community network, the first community network summit was organized in Nairobi. So the movement really is around support for each other as community network operators, in that there's quite a lot of knowledge exchange that happens among the community network in terms of those who've already done it, giving advice to those who'd like to start. But the exchanges do not just happen regionally, but we also have cross-regional exchanges, for example, with colleagues from Latin America, with colleagues from Asia, in terms of how, especially like in terms of technology, because some have been in existence for long. So the purpose of building a movement is really around us trying to figure out, as community networks in Africa, how do we support the growth and sustainability of community networks across Africa. So our goal or our dream is to have more community networks in other countries. So we hope to see, for example, Bosco Uganda feeding other community networks in Uganda as well. Tunapanda and Nanek Moja, which are in Kenya, feeding other community networks as well, so that we are sort of ensuring that, because the number of the unconnected, especially in rural Africa, is quite high. So we are hoping that through this discussion and engagement, we'll be able to grow the movement in Africa. So the local project started 2 years ago, but then this particular project, working with community networks, started in 2019, which is this year, at the ecosystem of community networks in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. I remember when I was looking through this to understand this project before I even applied for the job, I felt like it was really timely because as someone who's worked in community networks, one of the gaps I saw is that sometimes community networking is quite difficult, and we require, we are required to learn very fast, and we kept getting hurdle after hurdle. So an example is that in 2016, when Tunapanda was starting the community network, we had the ubiquity equipment, which we really didn't know how to configure. And so as a result of that, we broke quite a number. It was a learning process, but it took longer. If we had been connected to Bosco, then the process might have been shorter, because Bosco is using ubiquity equipment and is more well-versed, and so can be able to support those who are starting out with this type of equipment. So the whole project is around, it does not just look at individual settings in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, or sort of to start pioneering really as leaders in building the movement in different areas. So we're looking at the technology side of things. We are looking at content, that it's an inclusive, as we are promoting community networks, to ensure that it's also an inclusive and safe space for everyone to participate. And also the policies and regulations should be able to provide an environment in which community networks grow, and not an environment that sort of blocks them out or stifles their growth. So currently we have four so the FET development project supports 4 community networks in Africa, that being Bosco, Uganda, Zenzeleni in South Africa, TYD, Center of Youth Development in Malawi, and Pamojanes in DRC. Then we have our colleagues in Asia and Latin America. Each continent is represented, each region is represented by 4 community networks. So, building into the discussion around really what this support that APC is providing to the network is that we are strengthening the movement through grant support, peer learning, and capacity building. And this year, so our colleagues Immaculate and Solomon visit South Africa, where the Zenzeleni network is, which is what we call the peer exchanges. So we know that knowledge exchange is not just, it really happens well when it's amongst peers. So not all the time is that we have an expert and then a sort of learner quote unquote, but amongst peers, there's something that I know that would be beneficial to you, and there's something that you know that would be beneficial to myself. And that is why now, through the peer learning, the community networks in the project are able to exchange their knowledge. We also have movement building through awareness raising, and this is through events such as this that hope to not just bring in more community networks, but also support the existing ones to become more sustainable and resilient. The third, we have around enabling policy and regulatory environment at national, regional, and global level. Our fourth is ensuring that we are integrating gender analysis in all aspects of the project implementation and supporting women participation in community-based and connectivity initiatives. Then lastly is around support of innovative technology that supports scaling and sustainability of community networks. So these are Africa peers. So we have the first photo where we were the meeting this year in Nairobi, where all the African peers met. And then the second and the third photo were taken during the exchange, the peer exchange in South Africa. Right, so after that, I think that covers around the APC development project. And now I'd like to get more into who are the peers that were selected, and just share with you a bit how the community network, how these community networks were started. Zenzeleni means do it yourself, and it started in 2012. And initially, it did not just start like the initial steps were around solar charging, and then it grew into the analog sort of phones before it became the internet or providing wireless connectivity. So the really interesting story around Zenzeleni is that when you look at the people or the leaders of the project are really like the elderly of the community. And I remember when we visited this year, Solomon asked a question, is that to the elders, is that what you do not know what internet is, you do not know what Wi-Fi is. Why did you keep on, like, what has been like your driving factor to ensure that the community network remains? Because what you come to learn is that it's actually a process, and there are very many aspects that build up to the network that we are seeing today. So they go through very many iterative processes to what they are today, and they continue evolving. And what the Tata, who is the elder, said is that the reason why you do not see many young people in this cooperative is that young people could not see the vision, but as old people, we were able to see vision. Even though we did not understand what internet is, we were able to see the vision of what this is for our community. So that speaks into a very important factor of community networks, is that they are vision-led. Our colleague from Matcha, in our colleague called Fred from Matcha in Zambia usually says that start with the vision and then think about the resources. So really the vision around what is this network and who is it going to serve. Eleni, it was located in Eastern Cape. It is a rural area. And what you see when you visit is that it's mostly like an elderly population. So like many African countries, we have the youth leaving the rural areas to go to urban areas in search of an employment. And so more of the residents survive on government grants. So typically this does not make a good use case for traditional ISPs or telcos because they're not able to recover their investment with this being the demographic. So they came together as a community of elders, formed a cooperative, registered varying internet connectivity in Mankosi, and currently the village is connected, and the picture that you see is Solomon when he had bought a voucher, and it cost 25 rand for the whole month. So apart from that, we see now the value now that these networks bring in, that now local businesses are connected, schools are connected, members of the community are connected. And one of the volunteers there that we met during our visit called Ateka, through the network, she was able to apply for a university scholarship and has just graduated. So these are some of the opportunities that we see community networks bringing back into our rural areas. The next one is Moja Net. Moja Net is a community network that is under Ensemble, which is together for a difference. So Pamoja also in Kiswahili is a Swahili word that community networks. It's located in an island called Egypt, and this is really a poor island. They have very, very limited access to not just information, but things around even access to power, access to computers, access to devices. And I remember, I think Patrick sharing, who is our colleague from Cambodia, sharing that there are around like 5 cars in the whole of the island. So looking at this, also is a typical use case of a community network, because unless the people decide to connect themselves, unless the people decide to build them, then it means that they are not a use case or service providers. So they just like the story of Plenary is that it is also built by the community and for the community. So the picture that you see on the screen is around one of their hotspots where you come to get access to the internet. And I think this is very, very similar also to Bosco in terms of having such centers where you can come and access the internet. And lastly is CYZ, Malawi, Center for Youth Development in Malawi. So this is a new community network that is just coming up. CYZ has been focusing on provision of internet, on provision of computers for schools, and also training teachers to be able to utilize the computers, and training students as well to utilize the computers for education. So they are starting what is now UmozaNet, and Umoza also means together, togetherness. in Malawi, in the hope that they want to start now interconnecting the schools that they have supplied the internet, they have supplied computers. So one very interesting factor about CYD, which I think is a learning for other community networks as well, is around sustainability. So that even though they are yet to have a network, already the computers that they are donating to schools, it's sort of done in a sustainable way. So initially, CYD will donate computers to schools, but then schools pay CYD for maintenance of the computers and also for training. So building on this, I think they have a very strong ground for them now to start working on a community network, because some of the factors around like sustainability is already inbuilt to their potential users. So the network, they're looking to pilot with 5 centers, connecting 5 schools, and internet for them is not, they are not looking to start out with internet, but really looking at local content, local educational content. They are partnering with the Ministry of ICT and Ministry of Education in Malawi. And so their whole aim is just building around local digital resources for the schools, and then later on build now the internet factor as they're able to get more resources. Yeah. So that will be last on my presentation. I had added Bosco, but I believe that throughout the discussion today, you have been given more information about Bosco, and the team is also there, so in case of anything, you can also hear from them directly. Yeah, so just a bit about now, I have been able to share like some examples of community networks and the driving force. But one of the questions that we get a lot is that, so what is the model of community networks in Africa? So one thing that I would like to make very clear is that community networks are different from country to country because communities are unique. So it is not a copy-paste model that you can take and be able to directly implement in a community, because communities are different. But an interesting thing about the community network is that the ability to adapt to the community in which they are deployed. So in sharing the learning model is not to say that this is a one-size-fits-all model, but just an example of one of the models that can be adapted by a community network. So Zenzeleni currently, so they started out as a cooperative, and right now they have been able now to separate where they have the Zenzeleni not-for-profit company and then the Zenzeleni cooperative. So the not-for-profit company focuses on providing or supporting the local cooperative in terms of the sort of like the technical expertise. So in tech, in legal, in finances, and also just representing, I think, the cooperatives in more like regional, in more national, regional, and continental or global discussions, and also supporting them in terms of seed funding and engaging into exposure forums just for them to know what happens in different forums. So the not-for-profit now is supporting the Zenzeleni Network 140, and they are also seeding another cooperative called the Tulele. So these cooperatives are formed from how they're based on their culture. And so what happens in South Africa is that they have what we call the hetman. And so because of this already existing social network, then the cooperatives are, so what I call it, the local tribal authorities. Member of the cooperative gets to meet and discuss issues around the community network, how they want to move it forward, and then also requesting like support from the Zenzeleni NDC. So this is just one of the models that we have in Africa. Other models are built around like the non-for-profit organization partnering with local institutions in the community at grassroots level to provide now access. But the key component that differentiates community networks from other players or service providers is the fact that it is community owned. So we do not do this as a CSR, but really the voice of the community, the needs of the community are incorporated in every decision, and not just incorporated in that we are involving the community more in the decision-making process. Then technically, community networks currently, most are deployed, especially in Africa, most use the unlicensed sector, mostly support, maybe 5, depending on country, 2.5 gigahertz, which is Wi-Fi, and so we use it because it's cheaper. And most community networks, when we are starting out, we do not have the capital maybe to buy a license. But also, this comes with its own challenges around geography, weather, and one of the discussions going forward is around how can we support community networks to be able to access better technologies or better access to spectrum that allows them to offer better quality service. So this is the network map for Uganda, and I think Solomon will be able, and Immaculate will be able to share more on it during the next session. So beyond affordable access, it's really around how community networks are catalyzing the local economy and promoting digital inclusion. And an example being the fact that when we go to connect communities, we do not just focus on infrastructure, but also looking at supporting infrastructure as well. And that our agenda really in local businesses, how are schools able to deliver better quality education, how are we providing better employment or job opportunities or entrepreneurship opportunities for our youth. So community networks really come and are built on a holistic approach, looking at beyond affordable access, how is the internet really benefiting our community. So that ends my presentation, and going into the discussion now that is next on the program, these are some of the areas that have been highlighted as sustainable components of a sustainable community network. And I have shared a bit about infrastructure. Governance is the model, for example, the cooperative model. Locally relevant content and services, and also local ICT and technical capacity, policy regulations, and then business models that encourage sustainability. So moving into the discussion, I would like to, for the Bosco team, led by Immaculate and Solomon, to share some of the challenges they have around these 5 components. And then as you go into the group discussions, discuss on how, based on those challenges, how can we build a community of support for Bosco. You are coming in with very great ideas or new ways of doing things that they might not have thought about. So we'd really love to get your input as to how, as Bosco Uganda maybe, how can they better their infrastructure, how can they better their sustainability, how can they better their governance models, how can they offer the community more locally relevant content and services, and building on to the earlier discussion on policy and regulations, really speaking to the Bosco case, how can this, what sort of support do they need? And then at the end of this, I'm hoping that we'll be able to come up with clear next steps on how to move the discussion forward and hopefully move those community members moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josephine. Your presentation has really been elaborate, and you brought really to context connecting the unconnected, which of course is at the core of Bosco Uganda's mandate. And I thought your anecdotes elaborated also the different models that we can take, what we can learn from. I'm certainly sure that before you go offline, that there may be questions that the audience has for you. And then, of course, we will get back to the audience, to Solomon and Immaculate, to share with us some of the challenges that we have faced and to see how best we can make this community network work for this community. So, ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions for Josephine?
Thank you very much, Josephine. I wanted, if possible, for an elaboration of what is happening in Zera. Yeah, thank you.
Josephine, did you get that? There's a guest who would like you to elaborate a little bit much more on what is happening in Kibera in Kenya.
And I would like to pose forward to you is, how have you always managed to keep the gender balance in ICT? Thank you.
Josephine, that's all right. It looks like you've been so clear and concise too, so you could address yourself to those two questions, and then I'm going to ask Solomon and Immaculate to share with us if some of the challenges, and we can brainstorm on how we can make the network better. And I hope you're going to stay online to listen to Solomon and Immaculate, just in case you can chip in at the end of the remarks.
One, to give access to more youth, on educational content. But realizing the limitations around just technology without start working with schools. So our approach was to go to the school. They have like the informal schools. So we have very few government schools. It has Kibera has over 300 schools. 20% government supported, 80% informal schools. So these are started by churches, local NGOs, or just local initiatives. And going into these schools, one of the things we saw was the great divide in terms of access to resources. You find that some of the students actually get to digital tools that we can use to support this school. So currently we have connected 13 centers. We are hoping by the end of the year we'll have reached 18 centers, providing them with internet access. But beyond that is around training and equipping teachers to be able to use ICT for education, and also providing platforms. And that is so for the network infrastructure part is a partnership with the Internet Society. And then for platforms, we are partnering with pretty much covers the work that we do in Kibera. And to the second question around gender balance in ICT, is that it's still quite a challenge just going into schools and seeing the stereotype around what ICT really is. And I think one of the barriers has been around that, coding, everything in ICT is about coding. I think we have forgotten some of the important aspects, like someone being a content creator, for example, is still contributing to ICT. Networking, which I do, is also another component. And also the connection now between, I think for most women and girls, is really the really purpose focused. So it's not just like coding for fun, really, but attaching it to a need that they see in the community. So one of the things that we are actively doing, leading is a mentorship for young women and girls. So we start from high school, but also have campus projects. So for the campus project, we take in hands who come and learn about the network deployment and the work that Mapandanet does. And then for the schools, it's more like awareness into opportunities that are there in tech and really connecting like the why. Girls finishing high school and then joining the Tunapanda project and then joining Tunapanda, which has been, I think, for me, a great success. It's not the huge numbers that I would like to see, but I think with more mentorship and role modeling, girls being able to see, or young women seeing, you know, if a girl sees, like, for example, what Immaculate is doing, then you know that this is actually a field that women can get into. And also really just encouraging support from our male colleagues, also in the work that we do, championing for women, meaning that we believe that also women can deliver and giving them this opportunity to learn.
Yeah. Josephine, are you there?
Yes.
A few more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I cut off, but I have had finished on the two questions. But they
It has been a little bit costly in Kibera. And Bosco Uganda is based in the urban center of Gulu, which is also experiencing urban challenges. And because Bosco wants to reach out to every person who give an open access to everyone to access. Are there any ways you've learned from different models, different networks, how they've addressed the question of reducing the cost of connectivity, the cost of access to internet? And was the Kenyan government in any way of help in trying to address this concern? And then the next question is, how do you take care of people living with disability in your community network, especially the blind, the deaf, and others, who as well have a right to access, to use ICT?
Thank you. So for the first question around the cost, I think for many countries, bandwidth is still very expensive. And for us, and so as for us, which I mean like Fortuna Panda and also Zenzeleni at the beginning, one of the ways I saw in terms of reducing costs were around a partnership with the NREN, so National Research Education Network. Because for Kenya, for example, is that at the time that we started partnering with them, they offered us, the internet was not being taxed. So the price was a bit affordable compared to what other operators or service providers were offering in Amanda. So I think partnerships play a key role, but the reality also is that you cannot really reduce the cost of internet if government taxes are still very high, and which is the case for most, not just community networks, but also ISPs as well. And so that is why now building into the discussions around affordable access is now looking at how does government, what is the role of government in supporting digital inclusion for promotion of affordable internet access. And I think one of the ways is reducing taxes, not just on internet, but also on the ICT-enabled devices, such as smartphones, but computers as well. So our advocacy also is now towards government to see how they can be able to support community networks. And that is one of the way in that, like, tax exempt, not just for the licenses, but also looking at internet costs. Another way that I think like community networks can be supported by government is around access to the Universal Service Access Fund. In Kenya, they just, so starting this year, the government partnered with Telecom and other operators to connect schools And I think this is something that a community network can be well able to deliver. One of the challenges from the process is that because expertise was hired from, not from the community, and so the technicians came in, deployed the network, and left. And so when we look at the schools that have been connected, there are no computers, the teachers do not have the speed skills, and then internet is just being used for entertainment, and so it's with Facebook and YouTube, but not really serving the purpose of education. So because of the role of community networks in the community, supported by respective government bodies, I think we are more positioned to offer a more sustainable solution in terms of digital inclusion for communities, but as well as for schools, and serving the government agenda, which is providing access for all. So those are the two ways, but definitely there are more ways. So I'll just say, like, trying to build our advocacy, reaching out more to government in terms of how can they really support community networks or community initiatives.
Thank you.
The second question is on people with disability. So I will speak from Tunapanda's case because I don't know of any other community network that is handling this or is targeting this population. So for us, what we did, because we did not have expertise in dealing with people, persons living with disabilities, we partnered with an organization that is already doing that. And so our in promoting inclusion for them is to provide internet connectivity for that, for the center. And we've also had training programs for the youth. So we mostly require like a translator. So if we have a session with them, then the organization provides a translator. But we limit the process to like things that are really resonate with them. So we've done like digital learning and mobile photography, photos and tools that they already have.
Thank you.